Okay, well, we're going to get things started, everyone. Welcome to the call, everybody. We have people calling in from all over the province. It's wonderful. Tonight, we're going to start the evening off with a welcome from our President of Early Childhood Educators of BC, Charlene Gray, and then we'll have Minister Chen's presentation. Followed by a question and answer period. We will be having questions through the typed in question panel only. Due to the number of people on the call, it's too difficult and we don't have enough time to have everyone ask their questions verbally. So if you could type them in the box, and it'll be one question per person. Also tonight, sometime tomorrow, we'll send out a survey following the webinar, and that'll have some questions for opportunity for feedback, and to also compile your questions in that you didn't, if you didn't get them addressed tonight, and then we will be forwarding them to Minister Chen. Okay, so everyone will be on mute for the call. It just keeps the sound and the feedback down to a minimum. So everyone is on mute, except for, of course, Minister Chen and a few other people. And we're going to pass things over to Shar and let her get started.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sean. And for those of you who don't know, that's Sean Nygren, who's our wonderful membership coordinator for ECBC. And Emily Golick is our executive director, and she's also on the call. Before we begin, I just think that we need to recognize that we're all speaking or calling in from many First Nations territories in our province, and we just want to take time to thank them for the stewardship of our land. So I want to just welcome you all to our call, and thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to call in and be part of this second of two webinars. ECBC is really proud to host this webinar. We do it as a service for early child educators in this wonderful, exciting, challenging time that we're all going through together towards a better system of early care and learning in our province. And so thank you so much. I'd like to welcome Minister Chen. And Minister, I'm not sure who's with you there, so I'm wondering if perhaps if you might like to, or everyone like to just introduce who's going to be speaking with us tonight. And I just want to thank you again for engaging with our members and other providers around the province in helping us to understand what's coming for early care and learning and answering some of our questions. So I'm going to turn this over to Minister Chen and for them to do a few introductions. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to have the opportunity here today. And thanks so much for inviting me back to joining your meeting. I know there are some members that who have joined the call last week, but there are many people who have not joined this call yet. So I'm really excited to for the opportunity to engage with all of you. So with me here, I have our executive director, Jonathan Berry, and also my ministerial assistant, Nikki Sharma. We're going to try to, last time we only had about 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so to, about 30 minutes last time to have a discussion with you all. But today our time is a bit longer, and we're going to try to make our presentation a bit shorter so we can have more time for questions and answers. And Jonathan and Nikki will help me with the Q&A part. So thank you so much all for having us here. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share our plan with early childhood educators around the province. You are a critical part of our childcare plan, and you will be very important for us to work together in the years to come to accomplish some of our mutual goals. And I will move on to some of the details of our plan in a moment, but if you only hear one message tonight, I hope the message that you hear would be that we cannot do it without you. And we want to work together to make sure we make things better for families, children, providers, and also early childhood educators in BC. So the introduction slide, you'll see that last time we gave a more detailed presentation about our Childcare BC plan, and you can also see all the details on our website with this link that's in front of you. And it is a 10-year plan. And for your information, it is a plan that we have worked together with many partners, providers, educators, parents, and also important stakeholders like ECEBC, who have really helped our ministry and our staff to put together this 10-year plan with a 3-year implementation plan to build a pathway to universal childcare so families can have quality services and more affordable services. And as you have learned, that our budget 2018 has allocated $1 billion, a historical investment in the next 3 years to build a childcare system in BC. And again, that's thanks to many people like you who have gave us a lot of input, suggestions, and thoughts. And we also heard loud and clear about the challenges that families and providers and also ECE workers have been facing in BC. The current system does not work for many families and providers and ECE workers. So for example, the cost of childcare is so high that parents often struggle with the very tough decision between whether if they should continue their career or put their career on hold or pay for expensive childcare services. And providers also face increased costs of operation, and ECE workers also face a lot of challenges. We will talk a little bit more as we go through the slides, but today we're going to focus a lot on the quality piece and also how do we work together with ECE workers to make sure that the province, sometimes I call it a childcare chaos that we've experienced over the past few years, that we want to make sure we build a system to fix a lot of the issues that we currently face and make things better for families, providers, and ECE workers. So our budget and our plan focused on 3 pillars, that is affordability, accessibility, and quality, and we'll be looking at them one by one in the next few slides. So first of all, we want to talk a little bit about our vision and goals, and it's just to let you know what's the direction our government wants to go to. So we do have a 3-year detailed implementation plan, but our goal is to make sure affordable quality childcare is available to every family that wants it or needs it, and family have the choices and options, and childcare is no longer a burden. It's something that family should be able to count on and have that services that they need. So we want to make sure early childcare and learning is easy for parents to access. It's also affordable for parents and for the province. And we also have heard, you probably all know this, that childcare is also something that by investing in childcare, it also supports our economy as well. It's a good investment that is very beneficial for our children, for our family, and for our economy. And we also want to make sure that as we continue to build our plan, that early childhood education is considered a career of choice, that we need quality and accountability mechanisms to make sure that we have quality childcare services to serve our youngest citizens in the province. So first, we want to look at some of our affordability measures. We are investing $630 million over 3 years. And you'll look at the next slide that has a bit more detail about 2 major initiatives that we have. The first one is going to be rolling out in 2 weeks. That is starting April 1st, that we are providing fee reductions for licensed childcare and up to $350 per month for parents to be able to get a fee reduction, and also up to the age of 5. And we are really working with providers to make sure childcare cost will be lower for parents. And we are also making sure that we can support the provider's operation by giving a 10% operating fund increase when they opt into our plan, our fee reduction plan. And that 10% CCOF increase, it's the first time in 10 years. And we'll need to continue to work with providers to make sure that they get the support for the services, the important services that they're providing to our youngest citizens. And providers will also now getting the funding in the beginning of the month instead of at the end, so they can have that funding ready as they continue with their operation. And the second initiative that we have is a new affordable childcare benefit that will help to bring more relief to parents beginning September 2018 up to the family income of $111,000. And you'll see that with the 2 initiatives we have, so the fee reduction plus the new childcare benefit, you're going to see a lot of families that are going to see their childcare fees significantly reduced. especially for family making the income between $60,000 to $80,000, $80,000 a year, that they're paying about an average $10 a day or a little bit more. Again, it depends on the cost of their childcare. And families who are earning less than $45,000 in most cases may receive their childcare for very little cost or for free. And we'll also look at accessibility, that together with our federal early learning childcare agreement, that we're creating 24,000 more spaces over 3 years. And we can go to the next slide to look into some details. So we'll have a new major capital intake that's going to start in May. It's going to be an ongoing intake, so it'll be easier for providers to apply at any time, and we'll increase the amount of funding for each application, and also expanding the minor capital grants, and also allowing licensed family provider to apply for the minor capital. So there are things that's more details to come with our major capital and minor capital grants. That's going to start in May as we accelerate the creation of childcare spaces. We also want to work with Ministry of Education to bring in 8 full day care, to pilot 8 Strong Start centers to make them full day care and learning. We're working with the Ministry of Education on many initiatives, and this would be one of the things that we're going to be piloting. And we also want to see how we can work together to create more childcare on school grounds. And also with the federal money that we have, that we're also going to use some of the funding to address where the needs are the highest, such as Indigenous communities, childcare that works for diverse needs of our Indigenous communities, or we can look at, we're also investing in Young Parent Program and also supported childcare development programs. So there's a lot of areas of investment that we're working on. And we also want to make sure that we work with local government groups, school districts, and local providers to make sure that we can look at communities' needs, to make sure that our funding and the services are going to be allocated at communities where the needs are the highest and the needs the most. And also our funding will go with the needs of local community. And making sure that parents have choices, have diverse choices, whether if they want to choose group childcare setting or multi-age care or family provider, that they have the option to choose what works the best for their family. So now I think our focus today would be spending some time to talk about the quality piece and how do we work with early childhood educators. So if you go to the next slide, I think when we talk about our strategies, we also need to recognize some of the challenges that we're facing, especially the challenges that ECE workers are facing. So we know that many ECE workers struggle with low wages, very limited or no benefit at all. And of course, it's very hard to work as an ECE, the stress, the burden, and a lot of ECE have shared with us how the work creates a lot of stress, and with the income that they have, they feel like they cannot even, some of the ECE, for example, we share that they cannot even pay for their childcare services, and they're burnt out a lot of times. And we also know the challenges with no substitute ECEs to fill in when needed. There's a shortage of ECE workers in the province, especially if we want to continue to accelerate the creation of childcare spaces. We definitely need to make sure there's more ECE workers in the field, and the ECE workers are supported. And there's also the lack of paid professional development opportunities. We also know the challenges of very minimal career events opportunities. And we're seeing that there are fewer and fewer individuals entering the workforce, and recruitment and retention continues to be a huge struggle for the sector. And that is why we, on the quality piece, there are many, many actions we're going to take. So if you go to the next slide, we'll first look at some of the initiatives that we have. First on professional development. The federal funding we have from early learning childcare, we're investing $10 million in 2017 and 18, working with ECE-BC, and also $6.3 million in 2018 and 19 to increase bursaries and programs to support training and education of ECE workers. We also have a community facilitators program that's going to be rolled out to make sure that early childhood educators will continue to be supported in various childcare settings. And we're also working with Ministry of Education on the early learning framework to enhance the quality of childcare services. We're also looking at the role of local childcare resource and referral centers, CCRs, in how do we work together with communities and providers to build universal childcare. And I want to kind of also mention that we're also looking at how, because we know that CCRs has a lot of relationship with local early childhood educators and also providers, especially family providers. So we're going to be looking at how we can, through our local CCRs, that we can support the operation of family providers, support our ECE workers, and work with diverse providers such as in-home multi-age providers who provide quality services to our communities, or registered license not required providers, and of course ECE workers. So this slide, you're going to see other education and training opportunities that we want to expand, ECE post-secondary programs, ECE standards, practice and competencies that we're also looking at. We want to work integrated learning approach, and also we are doing a review on responsible adult training. And go to the next slide. I want to say that the two things that we are seeing on the slides, the labor market research project and also the labor market partnership project, those two will be our top priority in the coming months. We need to make sure we look at fair compensation. So we're working with Public Sector Employers Council to work on the labor market research project to see how we can bring in fair compensation for ECE workers. And at the same time, we have a labor market partnership project with ECEBC and Evans Education to look at how we can address issues and challenges that ECE workers are facing through collecting more data and research in the sector. Because currently we have limited information on, for example, the childcare services are very diverse. ECE workers work in different settings, some in union sectors, some are non-unionized, some in family provider or group provider, and there's a variety of different type of scenarios. So we want to get more data as we continue our work development strategy. And the last slide, I think highlights the reason why we're having this conversation today, because we really want to work in partnership with you all. We know that our government cannot implement universal early care and learning system alone. We want to invite partners like ECE workers, childcare providers, indigenous communities, and local partners, including government, nonprofit organization, and business community and private providers, to make sure we work together and build a system that benefit everybody. Because the current system, and because of the lack of comprehensive strategies, funding and support that we currently see in the current situation, have really left many families behind, not getting the services they need, and also created a lot of challenges for ECE workers and providers. And that is why our government is committed in bringing in the $1 billion investment and also the 3-year implementation plan. But we also want to say that this is only a beginning, by no means an end. We need to monitor how things are going along the way. We want to work with you all, hear your feedback, and also hear other partners' feedback and parents' feedback as well, to see how we can monitor the system and how we can adjust along the way. Because we believe that we can create a system where parents will have more choices and options, and also educators and providers are also supported through the system, a system that really will work for everybody, and that is our goal. And that is the reason why we're bringing in changes and investment into the childcare sector. So that's the end of my presentation, and we want to leave all the time for your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Minister Chen. I think what we'll do now, and it worked very well before, is I'm just going to turn it over to Sean, who can explain how this process works, and she'll be the one that is going to be reading the questions that will be fielded directly by Minister Chen and Jonathan Barry and the staff that's in the office with them right now. So Sean, would you like to take over with that?
Thank you, Shar, and thank you, Minister Chen. We will be taking questions for the next 25 minutes, and there is a panel where you can type in and ask your question, and many of you have been sending them in already, and we've got some really good questions for you tonight, Katrina. So the first question we're going to ask is, how will the new changes affect private businesses, and will they be phased out?
That is a really good question. And you know, we did get that question from others as well, and I want to clarify that we want to work with everybody. Currently, there's a shortage of EC workers, shortage of childcare spaces. We want to make sure we work with everybody to build a system. And I think throughout my presentation, I've emphasized a few times that we want parents to have options. We've heard loud and clear that parents in different communities have different needs. Some of them love to go with a family provider or multi-age in-home providers. Some of them love to choose group providers, and there's different settings and different things that work for different communities. So we want to work with all providers, including private providers, to make sure as we continue to build a system, making childcare more affordable, creating more spaces, that no one is going to be left out in the system. So that is our goal. Our intention of creating a system is to make sure that childcare, early childhood educators, providers, and parents, and especially parents and our children, that they're all going to be benefiting from our plan.
Great, thank you. Another question that's come up a few times is, how long is the funding for?
So the current $1 billion funding from the provincial government is for the next 3 years. And we do have detailed implementation plans for the next 3 years, but it is also a 10-year plan. When we're building this 3-year implementation plan, we have a 10-year vision, which is was shown on the second slide or the third slide, that we want to make sure that childcare is affordable, accessible, with high quality. We are doing a really systematic change here in BC. So the funding, the current funding we have is for the next 3 years, and we also have federal funding of $51 million every year for the next, starting 2017, for 3 years to invest in areas that our needs are the highest.
What is the long-term plan for businesses that choose not to opt in? Will we lose CCOF?
Well, I guess we are hoping that providers will opt into our plan, because we do want to make childcare more affordable. We've heard loud and clear from parents and also providers and early childhood educators about the struggles of parents not being able to find affordable childcare services. We have parents who simply have no choice but have to pay for really high costs of childcare, or have to give up their career or educational goals in order to look after their childcare needs. So we are encouraging providers to join our plan, but of course, at the end of the day, it's the provider's decision. But I believe that by opting in, that we can work with providers to make sure that they also get the support that they need. As many of you know, that there will be a 10% increase in their operating fund, and we're also looking at that and see in the coming year or two, how do we enhance that and even make it better to make sure providers who, for example, are facing rent increase or other cost increase, that they're getting support as well at the same time to continue their operations. So we really want to have a good working relationship with all providers, and we're encouraging providers to join our plan.
Okay, and is the 10-year vision to make everyone nonprofit? And a comment in the section said, glad to hear you're listening to small business owners' concerns. So again, the question was, is the 10-year vision to make everyone nonprofit?
No, that is not our goal. Not currently, we haven't really talked. No, that's definitely not our goal. Our goal is to make sure parents have more choices. We do have to look at how the first 3 years are going to go to build our 4 to 7 years plan. But I think at the end of the day, parents want to have more choices and different options. We've heard that. Many parents really love family providers and multi-age in-home providers. There's parents who have different options, and we want to make sure parents who have the options. We're not trying to make everybody the same or create a monopoly of anything. What we want is to make sure childcare is affordable, accessible, with high quality, and we want to work with everybody in the sector to achieve our mutual goals. So that is our plan, and we're going to look at how the next 3 years are going to go to build a 4 to 7 year plan. But at the end of the day, we want parents to have the choices.
Thank you. And a lot of questions that are coming up are around wages. So the first question I'll ask is, when can we expect wage enhancement, or sorry, an ECE wage enhancement strategy to be implemented?
I don't have an exact timeline at this moment because we need to see how our labor market strategy and the data collection is going to go in the coming months, but I can assure you that that's a top priority. We have set aside $136 million in the budget to invest in the training, education opportunities, and fair compensation that I've mentioned during my presentation. We definitely want to work on this as soon as possible because we know that without supporting our early childhood educators, our plan is never going to work. So that is a priority for me, for our ministry, and that is something we're going to try to work on as soon as possible.
Okay. How many ECEs do you expect to be displaced or lose their current jobs due to program closures as a result of this change, and how will you support these ECEs?
I guess I'll need some clarification on program closures because we haven't heard about program closures. So do you mind providing some clarification on that?
Yeah, I'd have to wait and see if something comes up from the person who wrote the question. Let me just see if there's a follow-up comment. I'm just going to move to the next question. Okay, will this fee reduction go up each year by a percentage? Annual raises for staff and the cost of increases?
Sorry, so, if you don't mind saying
yeah,
that
I'll
again.
reread it. Absolutely. Will this fee reduction go up each year by a percentage, and annual rate raises for staff and cost increases? So,
well, we are looking at ways to continue to support providers. That is very important too. So this year we've added a 10% CCOF increase when providers join our fee reduction plan. But next year we still have funding that's available to continue. We're probably looking at a 5% increase. Feel free to join, sure. Jonathan.
And yeah, so, at this point we've got a 10% lift for providers who opt into the Parent Fee Reduction Initiative, and then there are percentage lifts that are within the budget 2018 looking over the next 3 years, so 5% in the years out.
Okay, thank you. How does the plan support registered license not required providers who choose not to license?
I'm really glad that you asked that question. We do have a lot of work to do. We're looking at how do we work with local CCRs, so the Child Care Resource Referral Centers, who actually has a lot of connections with local registered license not required providers, and also license not required providers and ECE workers to support their operation and their work. So we're going to look at ways to work with local CCRs to continue to provide that support. And also we're hearing a lot of providers who are interested in expanding their services. That's also something we can look at and see how we can support them to expand their services. But of course, providers, we want providers to have the option too. So if they want to continue to stay as a registered licensed not required providers, they can definitely do that. And we want to make sure that we also have a close relationship with our local CCRs and those providers who are licensed not required to enhance the quality of services and making sure that their voice and their needs are being supported as well.
Also, keep in mind, this is just Nikki here to add to that, that we do have funding supports that are going to roll out in place for a pathway to licensing. So if there are providers that choose that they want to step into licensing, that there'll be funding supports for them to pursue that. That's
right, and even for the RL&R providers who, for a variety of reasons, may not go in that direction, they'll continue to be the families that access their service will continue to be eligible for the affordable childcare benefit that will come out later this year as well.
Minister Chen, just to follow up on the question that we needed more clarification for, the comment that came back was programs are concerned that they may need to close.
Okay, I hope that's not, I definitely hope that's not the case, and we haven't heard that feedback from our end, but thank you for raising that. I think what I can say is I know that a lot of people, because our plan is really big. It's a very comprehensive plan. There's probably, I would say, dozens and dozens, or even over 100 probably actions and strategies and details. So of course, we don't expect everybody to know all the details of our plan, but I think what we can reassure again and again is that our plan is intended to support families, children's providers, parents, and early childhood educators. Our plan is, the reason why we created all this is because we're looking at the problems and the challenges that families, providers, and early childhood educators are currently facing. That the current system has really failed a lot of families who don't have childcare options and families who have no options at all. I've met families who live in poverty because of their childcare needs, especially single parents who are unable to decide whether if they go back to work or pay for high cost of childcare. We've also heard a lot of stories from ECEs who are unable to, who are passionate about the work they do. They want to continue to be early childhood educators, but they're unable to because of the low wages, because no benefit, and they cannot even pay for their own childcare services. So I think there's a lot of challenges that we're facing with the current system. So the goal of our plan is to make sure that parents can have more affordable childcare services, that childcare is no longer a burden for parents. At the same time, we want to work with providers and all types of providers. I know based on the questions that we're getting, maybe private providers are worried about, is everything going to be all public? And that's not the case. We want to work with all providers to make sure that private providers can also join our fee reduction program to make childcare more affordable through government funding and continue to maintain their operation. And that is the purpose of why we want to enhance our CCOF program. And that's the purpose of why we want to increase the operating funds and support, and also look at providers that really has a unique situation with rent increase or unexpected calls, that they can get the support that they need. We can work together on a case-by-case basis. So we encourage all providers and early childhood educators, if you have a question, give us a call. We're happy to look at your individual needs on a case-by-case basis. And at the same time, we need to continue to enhance quality childcare services. We've done a lot of work to look into other jurisdictions, such as Quebec and a lot of European countries that has universal childcare system. That one thing that the challenge that they face is continue to provide quality services. And that is why, as we've mentioned, that quality service is a key. We need to make sure we support our ECE workers. We need to make sure we support our providers to continue to make sure that there's high quality services to everybody. So if anyone has any concerns or questions or feeling that maybe their voice has not been heard, we really encourage everybody to engage with us, and we're happy to look at their needs and concerns.
Can I just add too, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we can't afford to lose any childcare spaces, and there's a, you know, not just an emphasis on building new spaces, but also helping to keep the existing spaces we have operating, and that's why you'll see the minor capital budget has doubled this year. And if in cases where providers are experiencing a change and need to relocate, we'll be increasing the eligible amount to $25,000 in this coming year to help providers if it comes to that. I think in Vancouver right now there are a few childcare facilities located on school grounds where there's some conversations with the Vancouver School Board, and we've reached out to the school board and the Ministry of Education to provide them information on how we can work with both the provider and the school board to see what options we have to keep those centers in those schools.
And I'm glad that Jonathan mentioned about the capital programs, because that is also the reason why we have decided for the first time to allow family private providers to apply for minor capital. We want to make sure family providers also get the support that they need to continue their operation. We've heard a lot of family providers were unable to pay for the equipment that they need to serve the children in their home. So we want to make sure that the minor capital also can be open to family providers.
Okay. ECs, including in-home multi-age programs, are operated very differently than family childcare programs. Why are the rates the same?
So currently, from the information that we have, the data we have, that group providers' cost is a bit higher, is actually higher than family providers. And I know that in-home multi-age providers are unique, and there's quality services with the early childhood educator who is serving the needs of our children. We do know that, but because historically, when we look at the cost of childcare, the cost of operation, because group providers are normally higher than family providers, so that is why the fees tend to be higher for group providers and lower for family providers, and that is the reason why the fee reductions that family providers get, and also including in-home multi-age providers, are different from the group providers. However, that being said, we are looking at ways, I believe it's through operating fund, that we can provide more funding for in-home multi-age providers. We're looking at that, I think, in September.
Yes, later in the fall. Yep.
Yeah. So in-home multi-age providers will get a higher operating fund in fall when we finalize the detail of our plan. So we do plan to make sure that in-home multi-age provider gets more funding because of the ECE certification that they have and the quality commitment that they have for the services.
Great. So when will funding come for school age care?
So currently, the new child care benefit does go to before and after school care and licensed child care settings. So that applies to all licensed child care settings, including school age. So the parents who have kids using licensed before and after school or child care services, that they will get the new affordable child care benefit. We are also working closely with Ministry of Education to look at the needs for before and after school care. So including, for example, if we do create a new childcare space on the school ground, could the provider also extend the services to before and after school? Some of the information we've been getting shows that there are a lot of opportunities for before and after school activities. However, the current challenge we have is that those services are not close to the school, which means parents, and which is unreasonable. So parents have to pick up their kids after school and then drop off at a different center that's far away from their school in order to get the before and after school service. So we're also looking at ways, how do we encourage more services near the school instead of away from the school, and then transportation becomes an issue. So we're working closely with Ministry of Education on that part.
Okay. When will there be more information available about the funding needs for assessments?
For what type of assessments? Sorry, you probably have to go ask again if you don't mind clarifying. Thank you.
I'm wondering if this might be the extra support needs for children with special needs.
Okay. Okay, we have set aside, so through our federal funding agreement, we have set aside $30 million to invest in supported childcare services and also Aboriginal supported childcare services. So those money will be rolled out with more details in the coming months. What our goal is to, through that funding, that we can reduce wait list in the next 3 years, probably, hopefully eliminate the wait. That would be our goal, to eliminate the wait list for supported childcare services in the coming 3 years.
That was a great answer for that, but the actual question was around consultation for community needs.
Oh, okay.
Needs assessment.
Needs assessment, thank you.
Both good questions.
Okay. We are working on that. I would say we're already working on that. So we're engaging with a lot of local partners, municipalities, school district, and also early learning tables. There are some communities who already have groups and tables, and also through our local CCRs to look at community needs. But the funding will be rolling out soon to make sure that we allocate funding and support communities that currently, for example, do not have a lot of information, and it's going to be $3 million. That's going to be rolled out to support community with their assessment, and we're hoping to do that soon so we can have a better idea of where the needs are the highest.
Okay, we're winding down to the last two questions. So my first one is, for in a childcare program, for the 2 30-month-old children that we are able to have registered at any given time, will those 30-month-old children receive the $350 or the $100? Our fees that we charge are the same for a 30-month-old as it would be for a 3 to 5-year-old. So it seems unfair to the parents of the 3 to 5-year-old families that they will be paying more for a family of a 30-month-old that in essence is more work, toileting, feeding, self-help skills, etc.
So I think the question is, just to clarify, is about why 3 to 5 does not receive a higher fee reduction. Receive the same fee reduction as the infant and toddler care. Is that the question? Why is it $350 for group care, for example, for infant toddler, and why is it only $100 for 3 to 5? Is that?
Yes, like so in a facility they can have the two children 30 months to 36 months, along with the 3 to 5-year-olds. So the rate difference there. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think we might have to have a conversation offline, perhaps with the CECOF program, just to clarify what's eligible. I know that when we've set the rates, we've looked at what our average is for group and family and the various care types across the province. I recognize that in many communities, for family child care providers or for families at least accessing family child care, the costs can be equivalent to group. But when we look across the province at what most families are facing in terms of the fees they're being charged, we wanted to create the most amount of relief for parents with the younger age children. But I think you raised a good question. I can give you the telephone number for the CECOF program, and we'd be happy to clarify exactly how you might be able to claim for children of those ages. So the CECOF program number is 1-888-338-6622. And if you choose option 2, the staff there will be able to help you answer that question. And just for folks who may be providers, just to let you know that the CECOF program will be operating with extended hours over the next couple weeks. So you will be able to phone up until 7 and 8:30 in the evenings, depending on the day of the week.
Great, thank you for that. So we are winding down from the question section of the evening. We have many more questions and comments that we will be forwarding to the Minister's office, and we're wondering, Minister Chen, if there will be more details coming out as in a frequently asked questions document.
Yeah, we're hoping to continue to engage with everybody, and if there's any questions or thoughts or feedback, and I really want to thank ECBC for the opportunity and also for the feedback and questions that you forwarded to us after last conversation. We're hoping to continue to stay in touch. And also hear from your members about individual, unique situations that maybe there's something that we can look at and work together. And I think this is a great opportunity that, it's a significant investment and we want to make sure we do it right. And we also want to make sure we continue to partner together and get your feedback and monitor the changes along the way and making sure that it is benefiting families and providers and ECE workers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to, on behalf of ECBC, Minister Chen and Jonathan and Nikki there, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to answer so many questions. I know there's many more. I think my takeaway from tonight was the sense that everybody wants to make it work. So work to be done, but the goal is to make it work. So thank you so very much again for taking time. And I know we're going to continue on the call for another few more minutes without Minister Chen's office. We did have an 8 o'clock time limit. So again, thank you. And everyone, please just stay on the line.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Minister Chen, and thank you, Jonathan.
Have a good
So
day.
we're going to turn the floor over to Emily Malechko and Charlene Gray, and they're going to talk about the upcoming work with ECEBC. And I just want to remind everyone, I apologize we didn't get to everyone's questions, but we are going to be sending out a short survey for you to fill out and get all your information into, and we will forward it off to the minister's office. So off to Emily and Shar.
Go ahead, Emily.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Sean and Shar. So there's been a lot of social media, a lot of media around the current changes and how this is going to play out and what is ECBC's role. So we wanted to touch in some of the pieces that ECBC has particularly taken a lead on or has been supporting. So we know as an organization that this is really, the $1 billion is a historic investment and really gives us the opportunity to turn the corner on the current crisis. All of the crises that we have faced over the years and have only gotten worse with the lack of having a universal childcare system in BC. So finally, there's an opportunity to address high fees, the low wages, and the too few spaces, and your struggle to make high quality childcare affordable for families, because we've seen this with all of our providers throughout the province. And within government's new plan, BC can really start and begin to catch up. And then hopefully what we're anticipating is then surpassed the majority of other provinces who have already provided direct operating funds to providers tied to lowering fees and increasing early childhood educators' wages. So while the government's plan includes all these elements recommended from research, the lack of specific commitment to the ECE wages is a key concern that has been that has come to us, and we have definitely heard that and have felt the same way from the get-go. And so the number one priority for both our partners, the Coalition of Childcare Advocates of BC and ECBC, is to achieve an ECE wage lift in 2018, and we will be definitely working towards that with government. So we know that this is a time of change, and while some questions and concerns are being resolved, like the timing of the CCOF payments, we know that there's others. And so we continue to encourage people to bring their questions forward, whether they're directly to the CCOF office, to other ministry offices, to the minister's offices, but also to through ECBC, so we can keep on top of what is being said and what's going out there and what things that aren't being addressed. Because just even reading some of the questions which we didn't have enough time to go through their very, very detailed questions, because we know the sector itself actually really does know what all the implications, and they need to understand how those implications are going to affect their programs. So I think that what we were hearing from government is that they are addressing those questions as they come in more detailed fashion. So we appreciate that you have an important decision to make, and it's our hope that many of you will choose to opt in and help build a universal system of high quality childcare in BC, so that we value your wisdom, skill, and experiences. And as we move forward, as Minister Chen mentioned, I won't go through a lot of these, but in much detail because she had the opportunity, but the workforce development strategy is key to the work that we're doing, and ECBC will be engaging the sector in more focused consultation process as we move forward. We're working on another project at ECBC to have early childhood educators designated as a professional body or a profession rather than a paraprofessional, where we've seen this in a number of ways. So we have somebody here working diligently on what this means as policy change. We will be continuing to look at the EC bursary and how we can break down even more of the barriers so that more students are able to access the bursary. We're happy to say every semester the intake gets bigger and bigger, and we used to average out about 250 to 280 applicants. And this last semester we received 716 applicants. So we know that people are out there taking this training, and we want to be able to support them so that they can start working in the career that they've chose. As well as Minister Chen and Minister Conroy are both have accepted to come to the conference in May at our ECBC 47th annual conference, and we're really excited to have them come and join us to answer even more questions and have more highlights about what is coming down. And as I said in the statement before, we are asking as many people to opt in, having more and more information every single day to help build this universal system of high quality in childcare. We have released a statement, a joint statement with the Coalition of Childcare Advocates of BC that you can see on our website, and hoping for more and more people to give us more information about how this is affecting their families. What are the discussions like with their families? What are they hoping for? What are still their concerns? And how can we continue to engage and move forward to build not only a universal childcare system, but the best one that anybody's ever seen. So I'll pass that back off to you, Shar, if you have any final comments.
Not much more, but thank you, Emily. I just want to sort of focus on right now. Minister Chen referred to the chaos, and we all know what that chaos is. We live it every day. Because what we know that doesn't work is relying on parent fees that we all strive to keep affordable, and that doesn't mix with supporting well-trained early childhood, fairly compensated early child educators. Those two things do not go hand in hand. So we know that that's what's not working. And so in order to build the system that addresses our needs as early child educators, this is the step we need to take to get there. So just being able to know that this is a first step, and again to emphasize that holding government accountable for the workforce strategy and wage enhancements is the #1 top priority for ECBC right now, just to be able to say that. Emily, I'm wondering if we have time for a few questions, or if there's anything else that you want to add before that.
So we could probably take a couple of questions. I'm mindful of the time. I guess maybe the one thing I will add is that this session is being recorded, so it will also be able to go out live. It will be up on our website, and also we'll try to share it, or we'll share it, not try, we will share it through social media, our social media site. So for people that didn't get the opportunity to come on the call, or if you want to re-listen to certain parts of the discussion again, it will be available. So Sean, maybe we could take one or two questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. If there's anything specific for ECBC.
Okay, I'm just looking here. When is the board election for ECEBC?
Oh, that's a great question, because we're actually just developing the announcement for that. So many people that have been part of the of our membership will know that in November we just the membership approved a new constitution so that we're able to do some of our elections via social or technology has increased our capabilities, so we always had it at conference. Now I'm just going to look at the actual date here that it's going to be, but this year we are going to be able to do it via webinars just like this and be able to vote. So it will be 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on May 24th. So it won't be at conference, but people can come on and be part of that and be able to actually have an active vote. So to be able to vote, you do have to have a membership in good standing as the day of the actual AGM.
And if you look on the website and also in our journals, that often gives you more details on what are the requirements to becoming a board member. But we do we get excited and to welcome new people, and it's so wonderful to have such a great representation around the province.
Absolutely.
What is your plan to address the significant issue of so many voices in the field not feeling heard?
That's another really great question, and we have been looking at opportunities where we can engage the sector, so bringing in key stakeholders. I think this is just another piece of the crisis that we have faced over the last, I guess probably for 50 years or 60 years now, is that we've always been such a divided sector. And how can we bring, so ECBC really wants to take on a strong role about how we can bring all the people together that represent the different areas of the sector to come together as a strong professional body to move forward. So we should be able to have more announcements on that very shortly about how that will roll out as we're looking at developing some key strategies on how we engage the sector.
Absolutely, Emily. And although ECEBC is a membership-based organization, I think events such as tonight, where we invite everyone, whether they're a member or not, to share their concerns right directly to Minister Chen, is just one of the other ways that we really work hard to make sure people's voices get heard. And although we didn't get to many of the hundreds of questions we got tonight, we passed those on, which is amazing as well. And so continuing to answer questions and moving forward is something we always do. We take questions, we take calls as much as we possibly physically can do. And we welcome all voices. So Sean, I think just because we're getting close, 2 minutes to, and I don't want to keep anybody longer than we have to, as Emily and Sean mentioned, we are committed to sharing your questions with Minister Chen's office, and a survey will be coming out soon. This call will be recorded, is recorded, and will be put out for your sharing on our social media. Please look for that and share it as broadly as you can. I just want to say again how proud ECBC is to host this kind of event for all of us around the province, and we're very, very grateful that you took time out of your day to join us tonight. Many voices are strong together. We say standing strong together, and that is our goal. So thank you so very, very much, and thank you to Emily and Sean, who stayed long past their work day to be able to help us tonight, and we hope you have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.